it it changed. But
Hmm.
again, it was what Ubisoft does. They squeeze the life out of a franchise, and it's to try to make every dollar, and it's not always a good decision.
No, I mean you're gonna burn out everybody. Look at Disney. Here's a perfect example. I love Star Wars. I love it to death. I was trying to keep up with the content they were making on Disney Plus, and they're like, "Oh, here's a new Star Wars show." 4 months later, here's a new Star Wars show.
Yep.
4 months later, here's a new Star Wars show. I'm like, can you slow down? I can't keep up with what you're even making. Let alone, is it even good? I don't know because I can't watch it. You just lose people. Nobody has the time to give up their lives to be in your world 24/7. Which goes to my point about the friggin' live service games. Everybody needs to slow the roll with that stuff. But go ahead, Wes. I'm sorry.
Nah, I'm good, man.
Welcome to the Nerd Enthusiast Gaming Podcast. On this episode, we will be discussing our love-hate relationship with Ubisoft, what we played in 2023 and our thoughts on those titles, and we're going to wrap things up with a pulse check on gaming hardware for the first time. And we got a fantastic little DS title to check out the prices of as well. With me, as always, is my good friend Wes. Wes, how are you doing?
What's going on, my friend?
Not much. Happy to be here today, talking about some new stuff, which is kind of unusual for us. Or let's not say new. Let's say this stuff in the past year, I guess. So it's not really retro, of course, but we don't talk about new stuff too often. So I'm excited to do that.
Nah, yeah, this will be a change of pace. But
Definitely,
before we get started, I have to say something. One thing,
go for it.
I finally got one.
Oh snap!
Analog Pocket.
All right, Wes, you got to crack that bad boy open, man. You're going to be in a loving place very soon. That system is unbelievable.
That's cool. That's what you keep telling me. So I was able to get one and can't wait to crack it open.
Now, did you buy the dock or any of the adapters for it?
Nah, I just bought the system.
Just the system. Okay. All right. You may want to consider getting those things later on. The adapters are convenient because I know you have games from all sorts of stuff. So I mean,
Hmm.
you can play Link's games on there if you get the adapter. So once just put a game in, look at the screen, and you're like, all right, you're gonna spend whatever the adapters cost. You're gonna buy them. That's what's gonna
Okay.
happen. They're not out yet, by the way. You have to
Hmm.
wait for the adapters. I don't even have mine. I ordered them like as soon as I could. I did get my dock though, and I think the docks are still available if you feel like playing them on the TV. Just an
Okay.
option
Well, the system was the most important thing, so that's what I had to grab. So
for sure. Every time you try to get one, they sold out. So this is definitely
exactly,
fantastic. You got that fast too. You ordered it and had it what in like a couple weeks.
like a week and a half. It was
Man,
quick.
that's crazy. But I'm definitely happy for you. You got to let me know your thoughts once you get a chance to play something.
I will.
Wes, where can people find you?
You could catch me at Level Up Entertainment at the Hamilton Mall in Mays Landing, New Jersey. Stop on by. We can talk comic books. We can talk video games. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Grendel5XBX.
Awesome. I'm Matt. You guys can follow me at FromNJ2CA over on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Just one piece of housekeeping before we get started. If you guys like what you hear today, please consider supporting us over on Patreon, patreon.com/nerdenthusiast. You can support us for as little as $1 a month. If you do support us for as little as $1 a month this month, then you will be getting exclusive content where we are discussing what is happening with Sega's 5 new titles that got announced at the Game Awards. Let's hop into the show. Our first topic is going to be about Ubisoft, our love-hate relationship with them. Why don't we start with the love before we get to the negativity? I'd rather stay on the positive side as long as possible. We mostly stay on the positive side, I feel. I want to talk about two.
We
Every
do.
once in a while, I go on a tangent. It happens, ladies and gentlemen. It does. But, Wes, you bring the positivity, so I'm going to let you start, sir. Where do you want to go first with Ubisoft?
Oh man, what you know what? Let's go with something that kind of I want to say changed the game a little bit. It gave Metal Gear a run for its money,
Mm.
but when they introduced Splinter Cell,
Mm-mm-mm.
mm, mm,
Look,
what?
I did not like Metal Gear at all, and then I played Splinter Cell. I was like, how can you tell me that the gameplay of Metal Gear is even close to as good
Ugh.
as Splinter Cell? It's not even the same league. Shooting out the lights on an OG Xbox, man, just creeping
Mm-hmm.
around.
Oh,
Oh my god.
hiding in the ceiling.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was, man. I remember the very first time they showed it to us, and it was mind blowing. And then it just got better because then we got Pandora Tomorrow, and we got Chaos Theory, and they were all great.
Now, did you? I know you worked at you were a manager at GameStop at that period
Mm-hmm.
of time. Did you get to see it like early or anything like that, or did you get to see it like once they released it to the public? Because I know sometimes you got to see stuff early like that.
No, I actually got to see Splinter Cell a little early because we were at our managers convention. Um, I want to say it's either Vegas or Florida, one of the two places that they always took us. And it was Ubisoft sponsored one of our dinners, and they showed us for the first time Splinter Cell before anybody else. And they did a good 10-15 minute walkthrough, like playing the game and
So
things
they
you can
played it
do
and
in
you
it.
got to watch it.
And we got to watch it. Oh my
Okay.
goodness. It was so good. So good.
Yeah, and that was a timed exclusive on Xbox before it came to anything else. That original Splinter Cell game. Yeah, I was on there for a while before it got to anything else. I was so happy to have an Xbox at that time. It's like I cannot imagine not being able to play this game. Like it was so much fun.
Oh, it was. It was so much fun.
And the stealth mechanic, I mean, honestly, if you guys go back, if you're younger and you don't know, that was like a really groundbreaking game at the time. The stuff that they were doing, like, people probably had that idea in their head, but nobody was really doing that stuff before. Like, they were really pushing, like, graphically, it looked fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, shooting out lights, hiding in the shadows. I know this sounds very, like, tame now, but back in, like, I don't know, what the hell was it? 2001, 2002, whenever the hell that game came out. Like, it was fantastic and mind blowing at that time.
It was. It really was. You figure that game is what, almost 20 years old now?
Oh my god.
I really want to go back and play it now that we're talking about it.
I know, man. I fired up my Xbox. It's been probably been about 6 months.
Mm.
I played some stuff with it. I just remember like, oh my god, I love this system so much. There's so much good stuff on the OG Xbox.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. But that's my start off for, why we love Ubisoft. Where do you want to go next?
I mean, there's all sorts of places we can go. I'm gonna have to just talk about this. I mean, this is easily, like without a doubt, the biggest game I love from Ubisoft, which is Assassin's Creed. I
Mm.
played every single Assassin's Creed except for Rogue, which I actually heard is fantastic. I do need to get back to it. I think I have a digital copy of it on a PS4.
Mhm.
I think I don't know. I got it somewhere, but I just never went back to play it. It came out. Rogue was the release that happened when PS4 came out and PS3 was still alive. So they
Mm.
made Rogue on the PS3 and the Xbox 360, and then for PS4 and Xbox One they made Black Flag, and both of them got really good reviews. But Black Flag is like, I mean, Black Flag is top tier Assassin's Creed. That's probably my second favorite Assassin's Creed game.
Okay.
So I was like, well, I'm not going to play Rogue. This is the superior version. It's on the superior hardware. Like, why would I play Rogue? And of course, now I want to go back and play it. Just need to find some time. But that whole series, it has ups and downs. I played them all, so I can tell you there's definitely ups and downs. But in my opinion, more ups than downs. It does what I like. It gives you the exploration to go
Mm-hmm.
around and like find different things and do different missions and stuff. Um, really, when I'm in those open worlds, like I hate starting them because I know it's a time commitment. But once I'm in there, oh man,
They got you.
give me it, give me it. I can't stop, Wes.
Ooh. I, you
So
know, I'm thinking back, and it's like there was a lot of firsts, and just like Splinter Cell, when we saw Assassin's Creed for the first time, like when he kind of just blended into the crowd to like escape
man,
capture, and fell from like the church roof and fell into the hay. It was just, oh man.
Yeah, it's funny to think. I know I'm not gonna get to the negativity just yet, but it's funny to think about how innovative they once were,
Hmm.
and now they just farm their existing franchises for the most part, right? When's the last time you saw a new game from Ubisoft where you're like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, no, it's
15 years
been
ago, maybe
it's
20
been a
years.
minute.
It's been a long, long time since they blew anybody's mind. And back then, they were doing it constantly.
They were, because they blew our minds again when they came out with Prince of Persia.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah. That's a good segue because Assassin's Creed essentially killed Prince of Persia, at least until recently. Now it's coming back, but for a
that's kind of
long
my
time.
love hate thing with Assassin's Creed. As great as Assassin's Creed was, I really love Prince of Persia and the Sands of Time trilogy and the ones that followed. Man, and then it we got Assassin's Creed, and then no more Prince of Persia.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. I mean, I guess it draws so much from it that just
It does.
it's hard for them to justify. Well, you're making the same game with a different name on it. Well, that's kind of what Assassin's Creed did, but obviously they put in a big open world and it changed the game, so they had to
Hmm.
go with it. And obviously, Assassin's Creed's their biggest moneymaker, I think, by far. I don't think any of the other franchises are even close to Assassin's Creed, which is why they keep making them every year or every other year.
I was gonna say, yeah, they're still making Assassin's Creed games.
Hmm. Hmm. But are you excited for the new Prince of Persia game that's coming out? Have you seen it? Does it strike you in any way?
I already got it pre-ordered. I can't
Okay,
wait. I
all
can't
right.
wait. It's got Prince of Persia on it. I pre-ordered it like immediately.
But this is like somewhere in between the newer ones and older ones, right? It's not like it's not like it's like a 2.5D, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm still waiting for the Sands of Time remake, which they say is coming, not coming, coming again. So we'll see.
Oh man, like I think four different developers at this point has had that in their hands, so who the hell knows what's going on with that one? But the 2.5 one that's supposed to come out, I think, in February.
Yeah, January, February, like soon,
Yeah, it's just around the
soon.
corner. I'll go with this one because I played a handful of them. I like them. Uh, I there's so much stuff that comes out. I hardly have enough time to play everything. But Far Cry overall is a good series. I played three for sure. Three was fantastic. A little bit of four. I think I played a little bit of five. I always play them for a little while, and then something else comes out. I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
okay, and I just move on quickly. I've never actually beaten any of the Far Cries, but I played probably 30, 40, 50% of them. I don't know. I seem to play them quite a bit, but I'd never finish them ever.
I did Far Cry 1, 2, and 3, and then that's where I stopped.
I get it.
They were great. They were great games. First person shooter.
Mhm.
They combined like enhanced animal attributes to your character, and it was good. They were really good. But like at some point it was like,
They just pumped them out too fast. And this is going back to what I was saying earlier. This is a problem that Ubisoft has. Oh, this formula, people like this. Give them more, feed them more until they're stuffed and they don't want anymore. Like do something else, but they don't.
no.
What do you want to mention next? We don't
Oh
need to talk
man.
about Far Cry.
Okay. You know what? I got this one. There's one game that Ubisoft gave us, and they keep teasing the sequel, and they tease the sequel for a long time.
Hmm.
And that's Beyond Good and Evil. That game was so good.
I remember it being available on this was GameCube, Xbox,
Hmm.
PS2 generation. I never picked it up. I should have, but I never picked it up until later. I have a version of it on Xbox 360, I think. But even then, I got it as a cheap download. And I was like, I'll play this later, and I never went back to it.
Oh
So I can't
man,
speak to it.
the game got critical praise. It got it sold decent, but it was definitely high on their radar because it was well received, said highly praised, and they kept saying we're getting a sequel. And to this day, they've only teased us with like images and like little teasers. but no concrete evidence of a second Beyond Good and Evil.
I think I want to say that this year that game surpassed Duke Nukem Forever as the longest announced game that's still in development and like has not come out. I know Duke Nukem Forever eventually came out, but I think
It
it surpassed
did.
that. I think this is up to like year 11 or something at this point.
Mm, wow.
Like if you look at the first time they announced it, which was at an E3 over a decade ago.
I'm still waiting.
Yeah. Don't announce things if they're not ready to be announced, guys. Come on.
Look, I always get what I wish for because I've asked and begged and pleaded years and years and years for Rare to give me another Killer Instinct. I got Killer Instinct. I've been begging and pleading for Sega to give me another Jet Set Radio, and we're getting another Jet Set Radio.
That's
So,
true.
Ubisoft, I need another Beyond Good and Evil.
Go ahead, get it out there. West demands it.
That's right.
The next one I'll mention is this Rayman. I have mixed experiences with these, mostly good, but I've only played a handful of them. Mostly the ones during again the Xbox 360, PS3 era. They were on like Wii U and stuff. It's when Ubisoft had like their art games and they were making
Mm-hmm.
like some really interesting stuff. And those Rayman games were fantastic. I never got to play the older ones on like PS1 or anything, but I think that this is a franchise that does not cost them a ton of money to make, and they could probably make quite a bit of money putting these out, but their attention is obviously towards bigger things like Assassin's Creed. I just wish Rayman would get a little bit more love from them.
I mean, you figure Rayman over the years got some love because it had a bunch of spin-offs with the little like I can't even remember what they're called. They're not
Rayman Raving
minions.
Rabbids.
That's it. That's it. So there were tons of spin-offs with them in it. But Rayman, I remember when Rayman first came out, and I picked it up for the Atari Jaguar, and just looking
Oh
at the
snap! That was on the Jaguar.
yes, it was, and looking at the hand-drawn art, it it looked like a painting. It looked like a masterpiece. It looked so good, and it played great. Granted, it came out for everything at that point. It came out for PlayStation, it came out for Saturn, but it did come out. I actually bought it for the Atari Jaguar, and it looks just as good on the Jaguar as it does on the PlayStation and on the Saturn.
That's awesome, man.
But then
Yeah,
they
I
moved
had
from
no
they
idea.
moved from they moved from 2D, then they went to the 3D, and it
They
didn't it
did.
didn't it didn't feel the same to me. I
Yeah.
really liked the 2D version, but
When they brought it back and they made those 2D games, like those got highly, highly rated games, like
mhm,
during that generation that I mentioned earlier. Like I don't know. I would go back and play those for sure. And those games tend to hold the test of time. They have better art. They're not like trying to look realistic back in the day because those games usually look like poop now. So the art style is fantastic. It's in 2D, not 3D, so it's going to play good forever. It's never not going to
mhm.
play like old school 3D games that play all clunky and crap. So yeah, I don't know. They need to make more of these, Wes. I'm not saying put them out every year. Don't do that,
Mhm.
Ubisoft. Maybe every 5 years, make a Rayman game. That wouldn't hurt.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Go back to the 2D hand drawn art.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be great. It'd be great.
Definitely.
Um yeah, the next batch, I mean, we're gonna go back and visit the world of Tom Clancy, and we're gonna go with the Rainbow Six slash Ghost Recon line.
Oh yeah, yeah. Ghost Recon was cool until
Ghost
they killed
Recon
it.
was great, but I was more of a Rainbow Six person.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I like the close quarter combat of Rainbow Six as opposed to the open jungle warfare of Ghost Recon.
Yeah, I was the opposite on that with you. I was definitely more of the Ghost Recon side of things. But tell me about more about Rainbow Six because I don't know hardly anything about that game.
Oh, so Rainbow Six. I mean, I remember playing it online with a bunch of friends, and we formed a squad, but it was all like counter terrorists, close quarter combat. Like one of my favorite missions is we had to breach an office building because there were hostages, and you work with your team, and you flank and you throw flash bombs, and it was like, but it was so good because it was all, again, it was very close quarter combat.
Which Rainbow Six was that? Do you remember?
Oh, it wasn't Vegas. Well, Vegas was on the 360. Vegas was great. Vegas 1 and 2 were great. Scaling the side of the building and then, infiltrating. Oh man, it was fantastic. But any of them, Rainbow Six, Vegas, the original Rainbow Six, all of them.
Nice.
All of them. Great, great. But Ghost Recon was just the opposite. Ghost Recon was more outside jungle warfare, desert warfare type stuff. It was good, but me, I was more of a Rainbow Six person.
Yeah, for Ghost Recon, I just played it during the again the Xbox 360 era. This would have been like Grawl, Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 1, and I think I played the
Mm-hmm.
second one also. They were pretty good. They It's not the first game that's going to come to my mind when you say like shooter, but they're pretty good. They're
Okay.
pretty good.
Okay.
And the new one was supposed to be terrible, like the last time they made one, which was like 6 or 7 years ago. But they tried to
Mm-hmm.
make it like a live service game. They went, "Here's a live service game," instead of looking at like their previous Rainbow Six game, which was Siege, made like a good amount of money. It was
Mm-hmm.
that was like a live service game because they fixed that game. The game was junk when it came out. Nobody liked it, and they put a bunch of time and money and resources into it, and they turned it into a good game.
Yeah.
And then they were like, "Oh, let's do the same thing with Ghost Recon." It's not the same. Like it's different, man. It's different. Stop. But anyway, they can go back to that franchise. They just got to name it Grawl and go back to its roots and not make it a
Right.
live service game, and it'll be fine.
It'll-
Because
Yep.
Ubisoft already has a live service game that is successful, and that's The Division. And they are already working on a new version of that. So put out that, continue to do that, and stop with making every damn game live service, please.
I didn't play the Division.
I didn't either. I don't care about live service games. But I do know that you can play the Division as a single player game. Like you could
Mm-hmm.
play through it. It's not designed to really be that way, but you could play through the game that way.
Okay, gave you the option. I mean, my
Right.
friends played it and they were like, "Oh my god, you got to play this. The Division, it's so good, it's so good, it's so good." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, all right." I just never.
Yeah, I heard nothing but good things, but not my cup of tea. Wes,
All
let's
right.
move into some of the negativity of Ubisoft. The let's call them Poopy Soft, because that's pretty much what they've become over the past few years. They haven't put out a game I've liked in probably close to a decade at this point. I don't remember. Well, I'm going to retract that statement immediately. Um, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I think, was the last game I really liked from them, and that might have been 5 years ago at this point, something like that. But I mean, in
Mhm.
between there was nothing else. Like Odyssey was the last Assassin. I didn't like Valhalla. I played the hell out of Valhalla. It was just too bloated. There's too much stuff. Couldn't go anywhere. And after playing Odyssey, where they had amazing, like every like side story and like mission you would go on in Odyssey was fantastic. It's their best game. It's their best
Hmm.
game. I couldn't play Valhalla after that. I was like, this is not even close to as good as Odyssey. Not even close. I don't care what anybody says. But there's nothing. I can't even remember a game that I liked as much as that, or even close, since like like a decade before that, probably.
Yeah.
But what do you
Everybody
think?
said Odyssey was great. And this again, this is one of the things that kind of makes me upset with Ubisoft. As much as I love them, they like choke the life out of a franchise
Hmm.
because we'll use Assassin's Creed because that's what we're talking about as an example.
Sure.
It started off great. We got one, we got two, well, we got Brotherhood, and then we got three, which was the American Revolution one, and then we got Black Flag, and
Hmm.
then it just kind of, but it's just they kept cranking them out, and then we got Unity, I think, and Syndicate.
Yes. Hmm.
Syndicate was the last one. I was like, I'm done. I'm done. And that was like the brother sister in London one.
I know. Yes. I see. Syndicate was the last one of those original ones that I actually enjoyed. Unity was broken at launch, and I played it at launch, and I hear all these. There's a lot of apologists out there now saying Unity is so good. They patched the hell out of that game. I don't know what kind of gigabytes it was, but it was gigantic for the time. That game was broken at launch. That's when I played it. I'm not going back to it. I'm sure it's a much better game now.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to discredit it completely, but you sold me a $60 game that was broken. Broken. Sorry. I'm not I don't have there's other things I can play that are not broken. And I know it's patched now, but you've already lost me.
yeah. It's like I bought it. It's just sitting there. I never opened it. It's just sitting on the shelf because at that point, like I said, it was just kind of like eh. But
Did you like Syndicate though?
it was okay. I never finished it. I
I
just
enjoyed it.
at that point it was like I think I was done. And then I didn't get Odyssey. I didn't get Valhalla because I was over Assassin's Creed at that point. But everybody says Odyssey is really really good.
So what happened was, you're right. It kind of after Unity, people were pissed, and they were like, "All right, we're gonna go away for a while." It's like, "All right, cool, go away." They came back with Origins, which was a
Hmm.
breath of fresh air. And Origins had a lot more RPG elements, and I was very not sure about the game. But then I came around to it. Their lead character was fantastic, like interesting. Um, his relationship with his wife was cool, and Origins is very good. I was like, wow, this is a nice
Okay.
turnaround. And then Odyssey came out. I was like, oh my god, they did everything Origins did, but like everything was good in that game as long as you played as Cassandra. If you played as Alexios,
Hmm.
not trying to offend that voice actor too much, probably wasn't his fault. It was probably more the script, but not quite the same. Like I already knew that going into it, so I made sure I played as Cassandra. But man, that game was. I vividly remember everything about that game. One of the few games I platinumed. I made sure I platinumed that game, and that probably took me like 150 hours to beat it with the platinum anyway. But Wes, if you're gonna play an Assassin's Creed game, that's the one you need to play.
Yeah.
Forget everything else. Just play Odyssey and play as Cassandra. For God's sake, do not play the guy.
Well, it is on Game Pass. So I did download it, so I will get to it eventually.
It's a long game. It'll probably take you, if you mainline it, 45 hours to beat, maybe 40, something like that.
Mhm.
If you do all the side stuff, you're looking at like 100, over 100 hours, easy. But to my point, the side stuff is good, Wes. It's good. Like there's so many missions that are like, oh, that was good, and you just kept saying that the whole time. That was good. That was surprising. That was supposed to be stupid. That was pretty good. Just like interesting little stories throughout the world.
Okay. But yeah, like I was talking about them, choking the life out of a franchise. What they did Assassin's Creed. They kind of did the same thing with Splinter Cell
Yeah, they did.
because they were cranking Splinter Cells out. I mean, granted, the first three were good, and then they kind of it seems like they kind of ran out of ideas and tried to go in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
Because then we got um I can't even remember what the subtitles were, but it was like he
There
kind of
was
went
Double Agent.
double
There
agent.
was Blacklist.
Yep. And
Uh,
it kind of just went off the rails of what it used to be.
well, I know that one of those was more action oriented. Like it
It
was.
was. It
It's like
was
you're
very.
making a stealth game, guys. Like, what do you?
I mean, was it double agent?
I don't remember. I think it was
There,
Double Agent where they started to go more action oriented.
there was one game that reminded me of an episode of 24 because
Mm,
24 was a very action oriented game, and it was great. I mean, it was as far as a TV series, it was very action oriented, and they tried to make Splinter Cell the game version of that.
mm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think I picked up a Double Agent and Blacklist when they were cheap, but I never played them. I only played those original three. So I'm speaking from not playing those. But one of those was there was a newer Splinter Cell game, like newer, like 10 years ago. um, one of them was supposed to be very good, and I think it was like the last one they made, but I don't remember because there were some clunkers in there. They were like, "This isn't Splinter Cell."
I agree. I agree. It just it, it changed. But
Hmm.
again, it was what Ubisoft does. They squeeze the life out of a franchise, and it's to try to make every dollar, and it's not always a good decision.
No, I mean you're gonna burn out everybody. Look at Disney. Here's a perfect example. I love Star Wars. I love it to death. I was trying to keep up with the content they were making on Disney Plus, and they're like, "Oh, here's a new Star Wars show." 4 months later, here's a new Star Wars show.
Yep.
4 months later, here's a new Star Wars show. I'm like, can you slow down? Shit, I can't keep up with what you're even making. Let alone, is it even good? I don't know because I can't watch it. Like I'm hearing things. The only one I kept up with was like The Mandalorian, and then I eventually fell behind on that. I didn't watch. I think I watched maybe the first episode of this last season or something, but I have
Mhm.
no idea what the hell's going on there. You just lose people. Nobody has the time to give up their lives to be in your world 24/7. Which goes to my point about the friggin' live service games. Everybody needs to slow the roll with that stuff. But go ahead, Wes. I'm sorry.
Nah, I'm good, man. Nah, just I'm just trying to think of other negatives of why our love hate relationship with Ubisoft.
The same format,
Mm.
big open world, bunch of towers. Go to your tower, climb the tower, get to the top, unlock a small area of the map. Repeat Far Cry, Assassin's Creed. Go ahead and name a franchise. I'm sure Ubisoft has implemented that in probably. Um, but I don't know. If I said Wes, this is a Ubisoft game, you would know what I'm talking about because they use that format across the board for years. That shouldn't be the case. What happened to this
Nah,
innovative company that was making Splinter Cell back in the day? That made the first Rainbow Six, that made the first Ghost Recon, that made these artful, inspired Rayman games. What the
yeah,
hell happened to you? You know? Where did you lose yourself along the way? And I'm sure it came down to money. We're just going to farm the shit out of this stuff and make as much money as possible, which was great at the time, but look where you are now.
yeah.
You've lost your culture. You probably lost a bunch of those people because you're making
Mm-hmm.
the same shit over and over again. Like, come on. If you were a creative person and you worked for Ubisoft and they were like, you're making Assassin's Creed, 5 years your game's coming out. Okay, cool. There's a new Assassin's Creed. You're making that. A few more years pass. We're making a spin-off to Assassin's Creed. You're going to do the spin-off. Oh, you're bored? Here's Far Cry. You're going to do that for the next 20 years. Like what? Like come on, man. Like
Yeah,
let people breathe. Get new ideas. You want to get people excited about your brand? Give them something new. They don't want to see what they've already seen.
so true, my friend. So true. But that's the way the business seems like, and and it's not just Ubisoft. It's
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 not.
it's all of them. It's all of them.
That's Xbox's biggest problem right now. If you said, Matt, if you worked at Xbox, what's the one thing you do? I make new goddamn things that will blow people's mind. Because you know how
Mm-hmm.
Sony got big? They made new shit that blew people's minds. And Sony, I'm sorry to say it, they're getting stagnant. How many more God of Wars are we going to see? Right?
It
The Last of
sells.
Us, Last of Us Part 3 coming up hot.
Yeah,
Guarantee it. And I don't blame them for that. The show is huge. The game is huge. Like, I understand that. But after Naughty Dog makes The Last of Us Part 3, if you make them make another Last of Us, I'm going to be pissed. Let them make something else. We would have never got The Last of Us if you never gave them that opportunity to make that game to begin with. What if they just kept making Uncharted? What if they're on their 10th Uncharted game? You got to let people make new things.
definitely. Oh, that's a topic for another video. But like, yeah, I got tired of Uncharted too.
I loved all of them, to be fair. I never played the Lost Legacy. I need to go back and play that one. But I even played like the Vita ones. They were great games.
Mm-hmm.
But even the people playing them are like, all right, can we get what else you got? You
What
know, what else you
exactly?
gonna show me? Can you imagine watching sports and the same teams played each other game after game? How boring that would be.
Oh my goodness, be horrible.
Who wants to see that? That's what you're doing with your video games. It's supposed to be, I know there's money behind it, but there is supposed to be art and creativity. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what you need to bring out in people.
Come on, Ubisoft. We know you got it in you.